Bring it down a little bit before it comes right back up. Ba-doom, 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 bam. Ba-doom, ba-doom, bam. Ba-doom, ba-doom, bam. Ba-doom, ba-doom, ba-doom,
Yo, she bitch. Let's go.
Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Vincent Green.
I'm your host, John Tui.
This is Invasion of the Potty Snatchers, and this week, motherfuckers, we're going to the woods, but not just the woods. We're going to a cabin in the motherfucking woods, but not just any cabin, the cabin in the motherfucking woods. So, no, we're back this time with another episode of Invasion of the Potty Snatchers. The first time we're doing it on air. Actually, no, it's the second time, sorry, we're doing a video version of this lovely fucking show of ours. But like this time, we're going to take a look at the Drew Goddard directed Cabin in the Woods. Recently came up in one of your rankers lists, and this pretty much led us here.
It did, yeah. It was as spontaneous as that.
Yeah, and this is a movie we both love. It's a real gender bender. Fucking, it kind of just only plays with the tropes and honors the tropes and all this, but kind of throws the tropes out of the window. Like, you know what I mean? At the same time, it's just
and under the bus and every other kind of way you could do anything else you could do to a trope.
Yeah, it has everything you'd want from a horror movie, like literally everything. It's got originality. It fucking does a little nod and a wink to the classics. It puts its own spin on everything, and then it comes up with the craziest ending you're likely to see in any fucking horror movie ever.
Yes,
like if anybody said going into Cabin in the Woods they knew how it was going to play out, is a fucking bald-faced liar. Like,
I remember the first time I watched this, and I went, "Now that was interesting." I remember just thinking when it all just goes to hell in the middle of it, I was like, because I know we're kind of seeing it from the outside. They're setting up the most mundane thing you could imagine, and we're seeing it from the outside. But at the same time, like, what are we seeing? Why are they being observed?
Yeah, you almost think it's like something like that movie, My Little Eye, that they're all like on some sort of fucked up dark web reality TV show or some shit. Like.
Yes, exactly. One of these kind of like escape room where like the rich and powerful are toying with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Which there's a tiny bit of truth to it, but it's much bigger than that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because the rich and powerful that are toying with them are actually just fucking worshippers. Like they're zealots of this. They're believers. They're followers.
There's even some like good to what they're doing, because you know what I mean. Like
they're trying to save the world.
Yeah, it's small. The needs of the many and all that kind of jazz.
We could do Stalin.
that was Spock. I think Spock's allowed.
Produced in my ear and Joseph Spockin.
Spockin. Yeah.
Go again. What? Live long and serve your comrades. Wait, what?
live long and serve the motherland.
Yeah.
But I watching this kind of the second time or fourth time around, I'd say, watching it with a more critical eye. I even just love tiny little things like the puzzle orb.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
I love that,
I just got this image in my mind of you watching it, and you're sitting there and it's just this giant eyeball, and his name's Critical. Like, it's just like he's absorbing all the yolk, and you're like siphoned into it like Charlie Day in Pacific Rim with the kaiju brain.
That's it.
The critical eye, you just watch it, you're just like this. You're like Max
I'm
Mayfield.
Observing.
Yeah, you're like Max Mayfield. You start like levitating and shit. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, shit, somebody throw on Kate Bush. No, it's been too critical.
I absolutely
critical mass.
How can you critique? Like, all you can do to critique is say, "I love this. I love all of it." Even the monotony, even like the mundane, like even there's always a store.
Yeah,
that they stop at before they go to the place that's fucked up, and the
store. What do they call him? The Harbinger.
The Harbinger is what he's called himself. It seems. Yeah. Am I on speakerphone?
No. You're on Zoom. It's okay. No, just keep talking. Keep talking.
We should wipe their ignorance from the face of it. I'm still on speakerphone, aren't I?
Bradley Whitmore, man, I could watch him in anything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I see. Remember Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the 2006 one. But anyway, so it keeps kind of subverting our expectations, but the fact that they were going for such an archetypal thing, but they were pushing it so far that it was kind of it was so self-aware that you were into it. You didn't care there was the slutty dumb blonde, and they were making her dumber with like her hair dye that she was using and gases that they were releasing, and The only
Making him more
person that was
horny, wasn't it?
unaffected, the most person that wasn't unaffected, I think, was the stoner guy because he was so Marty, because he's so like I think always a little bit off center that he's
No,
kind of found his own balance.
no, the weed he was smoking. Seemingly, what happened was they actually took away most of his weed and swapped it with some other stuff to dumb him down because he was supposed to be the fool. What happened was he'd seemingly stashed away some of his own stuff that they didn't know he had. And whatever weed he was smoking was actually counteracting the weed they gave him, like, because it was so powerful. Man, and that travel mug, man, I'm telling you, that dude is like a ninja with that travel mug. So
Yeah, yeah.
fucking hell.
Oh man, I love this film so much, and even just everything. When it was funny, it was hilarious. And when it was violent, it was violent.
Yeah, do you remember in the intro, Chris Hemsworth was when he found out his girlfriend was reading books? Who gave you these? Who gave you these books? You're not supposed to have these. I told you. She's like, I learned from you. Fucking genius. Like, I love the way like they're like, as I said, they played with the tropes and they honored the tropes. They're just like, oh yeah, Chris Hemsworth was supposed to be the jock, but he's actually like a sociology major or some shit. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He's actually a really highly intelligent dude. And like, I love that. Like the way.
I know, and then eventually he's like, we should like split up. We cover more ground.
Yeah, and your man's like, you serious? That guy's brilliant because he's like.
But when he gives the speech, and I'm going to come back here with the cops and the army and some big fucking guns, and you're like, yeah, you are. Yeah, you are.
Come on,
and then just straight up into the forest field. And I actually like this time when I was watching it, when they're going through the cave and the bird hits the force field and just dies, kind of. And the first time I was watching it, I would have seen it, but I just didn't take it in. And like, because it was just like odd stuff was happening for sure. But I didn't think he was going to hit. I didn't when he jumped it. I thought he was going to die, but I didn't think he was going to hit the
clever.
Oh my god! But even just again, all like the cabin in the woods is so obviously like Dawn of the Dead. Like it's even got the same kind of structure. They come up to it the same way. The Evil Dead, excuse me. Yeah. And even just the camera work and everything was a little ode to it. Yeah. And you were just like you were watching all of your favorite horror movies, and then that became literally true because when they get down into that elevator, you're watching all of your favorite horror movies.
Oh man, that scene where the SWAT team are standing in the hall, and the elevators are coming down, and then all hears bing, and the man's like, "Oh shit!"
The big snake. I always
basilisk,
and the bat thing that comes. Yeah. I've seen this film, I'd say 4 times, but that scene that you just mentioned, the SWAT team, I've seen that 1,000.
Yeah,
I'm getting a bit of a chill just talking. Yeah, that was so good.
It was like watching your entire horror childhood pour out into one hallway.
All of it.
It was incredible.
I remember like all of it.
Oh, and I just want to see a merman.
You had like a Samara. You had like I just think the merman would have been cool.
Yeah. You know? What the other dude was like, no, they're disgusting. The cleanup is.
And like the zombies were just like it's like the difference between what is it? The difference between a whale and an elephant and a seal elephant.
An elephant seal.
An elephant seal or whatever. Yeah. And but I thought it was all just set up so perfectly. Like I can't fault this film. And I never will. There's absolutely nothing about what I fault, including the ending. Everything was just kind of perfection. And you're actually watching, you kind of going like, this is like the kind of idea a geek like me would have, but executed by people who actually know what they're doing.
Yeah, well, you have Joss Whedon, Drew Goddard.
Exactly. No, but I'd be sitting there going, would it be cool, like, if, like, I don't know, if, like, you know, like, there's all the bad guys, you know, like, and then, like, but then the smart people have to make that into an actual movie, because it's very easy to sit around and pontificate on how many of these guys you could wedge through a door, but this managed to wedge them all, and they still structured an actual film. Like, I know what this film is about. Yeah. It's about appeasing the gods, the gods down under
the ancients.
The ancients, and they use, you know, whatever kind of like you have to do wrong yourself, so you can lead the horse to war, but they have to make these mistakes and they have to walk into these traps themselves, and the technicians are all taking bets on it. Everything about this film is perfect.
I love the way like they're like each person has to fill a certain role, and each role is actually a nod to the classic horror trope.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. Like it's fucking genius, man. Like the way they played with everything. Like so, like the moment where the fucking basement opens up and they go down. And one thing I thought was so clever about it, and you could actually leave it open for so many sequels and prequels, or maybe not sequels because the world ended, But prequels, you could definitely, because like that
Well,
basement.
prequels
Yeah.
could go back to like a really. I was thinking you could go back to almost a steampunky time where they were trying to make all that shit work with the technology of a century ago, like where they needed the elevators to work on kind of like, more kind of, what's the words I'm looking for? Hydraulics, yeah, and steam and this kind of things, like people actually on pulleys. That's the word I was looking
I
for.
want to see what happened in '98, because he said we haven't had a hiccup since '98.
There you go.
Yeah,
There's your movie.
That's the movie I want to see.
There's
I want
your
to see
movie.
what happened
Yeah.
in '98, because like they open it up for it.
And they could do that without, because a sequel would be an insult.
Yeah, because the
world has ended, but stuff happened before it, and they set all of that up.
Yeah, because they've been at this for hundreds of years. Like
they've been at it for hundreds of years. Yeah, so they could do. Oh man, such a brilliant concept. So unbelievably funny.
Yeah,
like this film actually had me. This film actually had me laughing my ass off at times. Do you remember when the Japanese class were taking on a what's the girl from The Ring? Samara.
Samara, yeah.
Samara. Yeah. And they were taking on a Samara type situation, and then it's them all like singing together, holding hands, and now her soul is happy, and she will live in a happy frog. Yeah. And there's a guy going, "Fuck
yeah!" He's like saying it to kids. He's like throwing the finger up to the kids on the screen. He's like,
because they're all supposed to be dead.
Yeah,
he wants all of these these precious little girls that have done nothing wrong, but he wants them all dead because there's a job to be done.
Yeah, well, the world's going to end.
The world's going to end, but that's it. Like, it's such a fucking crazy concept. Who's the bad? The film doesn't really end with any bad guys. Not like out and out bad guys.
Yeah. Well, you're all the hero of your own story.
Well, that's it. But this one did that really, really well. He didn't have like a Mike Myers and stuff, even though you did. You have lots of them, but they were just the creatures. It wasn't about them.
Yeah,
they were tools.
Hellraiser.
Yes, the guy with the saws and he's holding a puzzle orb, and I'm just thinking like genius on just being like legally different enough.
Yeah, oh man, they did that so often.
Yeah, you're ripping off the puzzle cube. Oh, hold on. I think you'll find a cube and an orb. Very different shapes. And it opens up a gateway to hell, and you're like tortured for all eternity. Yes, all of that. But again, the cube orb could not be more
different.
Imagine
that they're like, it's actually made from a seashell, seashell, and we're going to call it Shellraiser. Yes, I said it. Yeah, I said it. Come after me, seafarer.
Oh my God! Like, in lately, my missus has been looking for me. I'm apparently
can't find you.
Can't find me.
I'll text. I don't have Sheila's number, do I?
It turns out I was in here all along. But she's been looking for a lot of comedy horrors. Yeah. She's such a big fan of horror, but she hasn't been in a downer note mood, except for the odd case. Let's just go for it. Let's go for the really dark horror film, and especially like the bit like we watched Men there the other night and stuff like that. And that's
out.
Yeah, that's out. But she's always looking for comedy horrors, and I always like think, like it's a genre inside of a genre. You're looking for two things. It's not like there's a ton of them.
Yeah.
But every time I go looking, I go, God, what I wouldn't give for a Cabin in the Woods.
Tucker and Dale. Have you ever seen that?
Tucker, Dale versus Evil would be in my top 5.
Yeah,
it would. It's absolutely phenomenal. But even Shaun of the Dead and all these kind of movies, which get
the Frighteners is another good one.
Frighteners is amazing.
Yeah.
But Cabin in the Woods, I do think for me sits atop them all for just concept execution, and I mean belly laughs. Some of that's like the death. Chris Hemsworth's death was just so spectacular.
It's legendary.
It's just legendary, and he's like, he flops down, you know what I mean? Like he's this handsome jock. He actually kind of flops down, and it's kind of hilarious.
Oh man, like that. One thing I love about this movie though is it's like you never know where it's gonna go. Like the first time you see this movie, you expect it to be like I'm pretty sure I didn't know what this was going in, like in terms of like the whole surveillance thing. So I just heard it was Joss Whedon, Drew Goddard. I'm like, okay, I'm sold. Let's go. And I watched it, and I was like I was saying to you earlier, I just figured it was going to be, oh, these guys are observing him. Oh, it must be one of those rich dudes all putting bets in the dark web. See who's
Yeah.
the last person to die.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
kind of thing.
Hostel, escape room, and stuff have different Hostel, you get to torture them yourself.
Yeah.
Escape room, it is just a rich and powerful cabal who take these bets and they put you in a scenario, and there's only one way to escape, and involves sacrifice. Blah 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 blah.
What, you've never betted on escape room? Is that what you're saying? All right, cool. We just know different people. Whatever.
Whatever. I would with it.
I got more connections than the Connect Four. That's all I'm saying.
The Connect 4 ends up with one actual connection.
No, it's 4 connections made into one giant thing. It's called Connect 4.
Welcome to this week's episode of Connect
4. So no, right? The history of Connect 4 is 1986. I call Jim Splickets. So pretty much what happened was he was fed up of playing your old-fashioned Connect 3, and he said we could really expand this game. Like a whole other connection, I think. And they're like, Jim Splickett, you're a crazy son of a bitch. We don't have the technology, and you, sir, need to be locked up in an insane asylum. And he came back to him. He said, I have a dream, sir, and my dreams will not be quashed underneath your boots or anybody else's boots. And I will make that 4th connection, goddammit.
There's your movie. Anyway, it was Milton Bradley in 1974. But
pretty sure his name was Jim Splickets after
I have to say, from what I'm reading here, I did prefer your story.
Jim Splickets died very strange circumstances, and this guy, Mr. Milton Bradley, allegedly picked up the patent, the rights. Connect 4 became his priority. Whatever, it's okay. It's okay.
He Nicholas Tesla'd him.
That's all.
He died a pauper.
And I'm saying, like, all I'm saying is, remember Jim Splickets, justice for Jim. That's all I'm saying.
Justice for Jim, justice for Jar Jar.
Yeah,
right,
that guy, he's such a menace. Maybe a phantom menace.
Talk to me about the deaths. Like, we know we touched Chris Hemsworth.
I bet you would love Almighty Thor, like
the Almighty Thor, yeah.
You know what I mean?
But like, there was that day, and that day is the one that everyone's going to talk about.
The Lord of Hammers, you could be the Lord of this hammer.
But what was the name of the slutty blonde? And I can say that without derision because they had doped her up in such a way that was the character she took on.
Amy Acker was in this. I didn't notice. Right, the blonde girl was Anna Hutchison, Jules.
And she Jules, yeah.
The final girl was Kristen
Connolly.
Kristen
Connolly.
Lanolin, like the sheep's wool.
What are you doing? Are you having a stroke?
I don't believe you. Do you remember Anchorman? Your name is Lanolin. Lanolin, like the sheep's wool. I don't believe you.
But she got the first death. She got her head cut off by the family of zombies.
Yeah, well, family of zombie rednecks, inbred zombie rednecks, dude. There's a difference.
There is a difference.
Like, calling them, and like, I have to defer because, like, you said this yourself earlier. You know what I mean?
I did.
I have to defer to your greater knowledge, Anthony.
But she got the first death, and she got that kind of, I don't know what you call it, like a bear trappy type thing on the end of a chain, and she got her head cut off, and then she got her head thrown in. And you know what? I kind of did a little bit of research. I was 43 minutes into the film.
Yeah.
And that was your first, now for a horror movie, especially like a fast-paced horror movie, especially something that would fall somewhat in the slasher genre, 43 minutes is way too long, but not in this film.
Yeah, it's
fine. Everything is fine. You're just watching it going, God, this is so. Say that again.
All the killing happens in about 20 minutes.
No, she's the first.
No, from minute 43 to about 65 minutes, nearly everyone is dead except for
no. When it starts,
comes back.
Oh, when it starts, and then you have the SWAT team and the technicians. That gets the number up very high. But I'm just saying that, like, if this film wasn't so strong on its premise, you would have started to feel like it was starting to drag. But you never felt that. And you were never even like, God, they need to kill someone, or this is going to be like the worst movie. Nothing. I never felt anything except I'm really enjoying this moment, every single second of it. Because firstly, I was intrigued as where are they going with this? Yeah. And then when the twist came, I hope you're watching M. Night Shyamalan. That's how you do a fucking twist.
Well, dude, he has done good twists.
He's done amazing twists.
Sixth Sense.
But this one had
like Bruce Willis is actually John McClane. That was crazy.
You know,
I just didn't see it. Die Hard 6 Sense is insane.
When we were like, when we were kids, we were able to underage drink in the prison officers club.
Never did
It's
it.
long gone now, so nobody can really come for it.
Yeah.
But like my friend Mel, our friend Mel, he went to see this movie, and it was back in '99, and he came to meet me for a pint afterwards. And he said to me, "You're not going to believe Sixth Sense. It's got the best twist I've ever heard." And I just asked him, "Was it? Is Bruce Willis dead or something?" That was just a thought I had. I didn't even. And he goes, "How did you know?" This was like before the internet and stuff. And I was just like, "Well, I didn't. I asked it as a question, man."
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And you were supposed to be like coy. That's how films work. You're supposed to be like, "Oh, I'm not saying anything." That's what we do. That's what we do, man.
Oh man, that's one of the greatest twists of all time.
Oh no, it is. But
You know
I'm just
what I
saying, like a twist.
Right, the best twist of all times though, where Rose pretended she loved Jack for the entirety of Titanic, and then
That's
shared the
no,
no one shared the door.
that's how you. Yeah.
I see the meme there today, and it was like Captain America, Falcon, and Black Widow all on a door of a car, and they're like, if 3 can fit on this, 2 can fit on this, and it's just Jack in the water and Rose sprawled across this giant door.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
What a bitch.
But this twist, I've never seen a twist with so much joy. Have you? You think of all the twists you've ever seen. Was there ever one that just filled you with this much actual full out joy? Because when they did the I don't know, panoramic I was about to say, but that's not the right word. When the camera pulled back, and it was all of the elevators, and every elevator had a different type of monster. Everything you've ever seen or imagined, some you never have thought of. And I just remember thinking, I am in heaven. That is the greatest twist I've ever seen in my entire life.
The two greatest twists I've ever seen is 7 and Usual Suspects, both Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, which is why we love him so much.
Yeah, he's all around good guy. Wait, douches in my ear. Oh, interesting twist coming in.
we would like to point out that we are making this in 2011. Cabin in the Woods is just fresh in the theaters, and we're only have to went to it last night. We do not have any alternate information.
That European Championships that Spain won last year is insane. Wait,
exactly.
It's a World Cup year.
I sure am enjoying.
I love those vuvuzelas.
I love being 28.
Yeah, you were never 28.
Oh God!
You were born 49 years old. Everybody knows it.
Yeah, no, I've got
Lee Jones syndrome.
Steve Martin, man. That's it. Like
you
Steve
wish
Martin.
You could age as gracefully as Steve Martin. You got Lee Jones.
I wish I could age as gracefully as Steve Martin, but I definitely started out 40 just like Steve Martin did.
Yeah, but Steve Martin has remained 40 for the past 40 years.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's insane, man. You know, it's like all those stem cells he's been drinking, man. You know. But we think we don't know, man. You know what I mean? Like, remember that?
And banjo. Stem cells and the vibrational frequency of a banjo. That's what it is.
Talk to me. I'm into music hoodoo.
But he's a great banjo player. He's actually an excellent banjo player.
Yeah, and he used to bring a banjo sometimes on stage with him and shit, didn't he?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
But like, it's not just, like he messes around with it. That dude can play it. That dude can really, really play him some banjo. Anyway, back to the task at hand.
Right, moving from Banjo Corner back to Cabin in the Woods.
If I pushed you to criticize this film, because I know if you pushed me, I'm just going to tell you flat out, I got nothing. Nothing.
Yeah. No,
I loved it. I've just got warm and fuzzies about it.
I was watching it earlier on, man, and I was like, how long is this on? And I pressed the button on
95 minutes.
I said, how long is this like on? How long has it been on? It had already been on 53 minutes before I even thought to press the remote control to check how long was gone. That's 2/3 of the movie. Like, you know what I mean? It moves along so nicely. I was shocked when you said 43 minutes at the first kill, because you're right, most horrors, especially slashers, this is definitely in the realm of a slasher horror, most of the first kill comes within the first half an hour. Tops.
And even like it's like a nice friendly groundskeeper or something that you meet and says, hi, welcome, and him being killed doesn't raise suspicion in the next couple of minutes. So you could just have that kill to satiate a horror crowd, and then you can kind of like build up to the rampage.
You know, like this public works worker.
So again,
public works worker that always comes out to the fucking. He'll come out and there's a big electrical place, and someone be cutting the power, and he's like, "Hey, kid, what are you doing over there? You're not supposed to be back there, you goddamn punk!" And it'd be like Michael Myers or something. Out here's bim. And he's like, "Goddamn punk, get out of there, break your goddamn neck!" And then Michael Myers disappear.
Is he chewing tobacco?
Yeah. He's wearing
Definitely chewing some
coveralls and the
tobacco.
hat's like this.
Yeah.
Hey, kid, get out of there, you goddamn punk, or smash your skull in. And then Michael Myers will clear out, and then he'll go and start checking out the generator, and he'll be like, looking at goddamn punk. I'll kick your goddamn ass is what I'll do. And then he'll turn his back and he'll come back and he'll go, get out of here, I said, you goddamn kid. And I'm like,
but this time it's not him.
Bam.
Yes, I know. It's all you're so right. You're so on the right.
Yeah, I say that to the radio the whole time. We just walking down the road. I'm like, hey kid, get out of here, goddamn punk. Goddamn punk, I'm kicking the goddamn ass.
But you have that tertiary character that can be killed without raising suspicion. But just kind of like, and that's a trope, and you think it would lean into it, but it just didn't need to. And at first, when you realize the first kill is 43 minutes into a 95-minute, probably including credits, so a 90-minute movie, like pretty much right smack in the middle, you were kind of, it makes you think, wow, well done, and keeping me interested in this particular genre. With that,
so intriguing. The premise is so intriguing. Like, what the fuck's going on? Like,
exactly.
You're
But
like,
do you remember the Eric Bana's Hulk? It's the ill-conceived, ill-executed. But famously, it was well over 40 minutes before you seen the Hulk, and everybody was really, really pissed off because there was nothing else going on in that movie. I didn't care about anything that was happening.
Imagine having the Hulk and giving him a giant poodle and some giant dog to fight.
Oh man,
come on, Ang Lee, seriously, dude. Come on,
and it's Ang Lee as well. You know what I mean?
Come on, y'all.
When's
the last time he's done that? Actually, I haven't seen him in a movie. But he's done a big movie, actually.
Yeah, but you have to say, if this film did not keep you engaged enough for you not to be annoyed. But Cabin in the Woods could have got me going for another 10 minutes easily. I didn't care. They were setting everything up so beautifully. You were like, oh my God, where is this going? This could go anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere. The sky was the fucking limit.
Like, you have these people in a fucking cabin, and you have these other dudes in this facility, and they're all drawing lots about what way they're going to die, who's going to die first, and all this shit. Like, you know
absolutely,
what I mean?
Yeah. Having a tequila party.
Do you remember that? And he's like, oh, look at her. I almost want her to survive. You know, she's so strong, so much spirit. And then he kind of looks to his left and like, tequila is my lady. It's kind of like, I worked in the civil service, and you obviously worked in the army, but it's kind of like that thing where you kind of like, you feel a bit of emotion, and you're just like, okay, back to the job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
jaded.
I'm dying from the inside.
But like that, but it did give that real feel that they're kind of like characters in a video game.
Yeah,
you know, like when people say like,
be a great game
if somebody tells me that they played GTA 5 and they went down and they shot a hooker, robbed their money and stuff like that, or there was a game where you used to be able to actually go and have sex with them in the car, but nobody cared. People like to fucking just fuck around in those games because there was no consequence. It wasn't real. You were kind of pushing the boundaries, and I think to them this was kind of that.
Yeah,
but even though it was real people, because the mission made sense, you were able to detach from them.
Yeah,
and the only scene in this entire movie for me, the only scene that had real, genuine levity, and I really do mean this, I'm not trying to take the piss, when he's having that tequila party and the red phone rings and he went, turn the fucking music off.
Oh, you mean brevity?
Brevity, is that the word I was looking for? Thank you. Brevity. Was he just the red phone rang and the main technician goes, turn the fucking music off.
Yeah.
And he wasn't fucking joking.
Because that's when they thought she was dead.
Yes, and he didn't.
But
everything has to happen in an order as well. And that's when he wasn't joking.
Yeah,
I think he didn't. He did not end up having to repeat himself. They turned the fucking music off. Something's wrong, and they were under pressure. And I remember at that moment, that was the only moment that completely removed me from the silliness.
Yeah,
there was an actual consequence, and there was tension, and shit needed to go down a certain way. She couldn't die, and she was fighting the main of the zombie family, the redneck zombie family. And she looked like she was about to be murdered, and they were freaking the fuck out. The Buckners, thank you. And they were freaking the fuck out. And that was the only scene. And I remember that scene. I got a little chill when I watched it. It was like, God, this film, when I know they only ticked that box for me for a second, but I just remember thinking, well done. That's kind of it. Like that's bingo.
Yeah,
that's my bingo for entertainment. Like
when they finally when your man goes and saves her, you know the dude ninja with his traveling mug. That dude was fucking insane to go with that. So he blocks your man's bear trap chain thing, and gets away with her. And as soon as they go downstairs and into the facility itself, the carnage that ensues is incredible. If you want to have a slow burn horror, uh, this is the way. This is how you speed it up and end it.
Oh
You
my
know what I
God.
mean? Like,
Yeah. No, no,
because
no.
as you
It's
said,
like a
43
slow burn
minutes.
horror that took PCP just halfway through.
Exactly. Yeah, it's insane. Like, it's like, as you said, like, they pretty much give you every fucking horror character ever. Their version of every
Oh
horror
yeah.
character ever.
But there
Like,
was even like a mist kind of monster like inside
mm,
of it. There was the two little girls holding hands. You had your like, which is a bit of a Shining reference.
yeah,
You had Ring references. You had Hellraiser references. You had Friday the 13th reference. And even I, a horror buff, my favorite genre, talking to a guy, a horror buff, knows more about the genre than even I do. And I admit that through gritted teeth. And
yeah.
even there was some stuff in there, and I was like, I can't place it.
Yeah.
Mutants and just
You
stuff.
need more time to look at them,
You
though.
need more time to look at it as well. But
Yeah,
I was like,
it's
my
so much
God,
going
somebody
on.
sat down and went, I want everything in it.
Could you imagine how much fun that was, though? Because you're like,
Oh yeah.
I would love to sit down and maybe something I will do in the future as a story or short, just having a fuck around is maybe like look at all these classic horror characters. Go, okay, what's my version of Michael Myers? What's my version of Pinhead? What's my version of Freddy Krueger? Like, you know what I mean? And I think that's what they probably looked at as like, what's the introvert? Like, what's the skewed version of Freddy Krueger look like? What's the like? You know what I mean? Like the perfect example was their version of Hellraiser or Pinhead. Sorry,
Well, that was perfection. Yeah, you know, yeah.
yeah,
The
saw face.
puzzle orb and saws in his face. He was saw face.
Yeah, pretty much like, you know what I mean. That's what I'm calling them. But one of my favorite monsters of all of them was the scorpion with the fucking circular saw for a stinger.
Yeah.
Like the robotic fucking scorpion thing or some shit, man. Like some of the shit is just pure genius, man. Like, and as
I
well,
imagine there was before like they had to get to the actual work.
Mm.
Must have been just like I just picture people sitting around eating sandwiches and just whoever had the nicest handwriting up at a whiteboard and just kind of going, one guy going, mechanical scorpion.
Yeah.
Not maybe not all mechanical or all mechanical. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't want to have a saw for a stinger.
But as long as it has like a circular saw instead of a stinger, cool.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like
somebody kind of going, okay.
I call that the blue sky.
Like, I don't think there was a maybe pile. I think it was all just in. You know what I mean? Like everything.
How many is there? How many villains is there? About 100 maybe near the end?
I don't know, man, because it was layers.
Yeah.
It wasn't just, it was a grid, but it was a grid behind a grid behind a grid, and it was moving. So I couldn't even, I honestly couldn't even to the closest dozen, I couldn't even guess.
Yeah, like the fucking like apart from which step did you say was the best? Probably Chris Hemsworth would have been.
Chris Hemsworth was death was the best, but when Jules died and they threw the head into the cabin, that's when you knew that was it. That really, I felt like that exact moment. Her death was brutal, like brutal.
Do you remember the guy? He's like, hey, take your top off, and she's like, oh, it's kind of chilly, and he's like, oh. And then they're like, they turn off the temperature in the area, and then they're like, oh, it's a bit dark out here, and then they like put the moonlight up so it comes streaming in. It's fucking genius, man.
Oh, everything about it was genius. Like it was just, it's a lightning in a bottle movie, and I'm actually just glad that they didn't go back and make a sequel. They just
I would have liked to see a prequel, like the sequel.
Prequel, sure, but you were just kind of like, I don't know, it's just this one piece of gorgeousness.
It might lose its originality as well if you get a prequel, because we know the formula now.
That's it. Look, we both went to the cinema and we watched Quiet Place 2 at different times, but we both went.
Yeah.
And it was a really good film, but and it's not its fault. Its biggest failing is that it didn't, that we knew. We were established. We knew what they were, what they did, what they looked like, the dangers of them, the traps, what you need to do, what you need to very much so need not to not
like
do.
a Saw or Hostel.
And then
first they give you a gut reaction.
First will always be first.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And no matter how good your storytelling is, first will always be first.
Yes,
you can't go up against that. There's nothing to be done.
And so oftentimes the first becomes the classic.
Yeah. So for me, I think like we said, if you're ever to do it, you have to go, but like no earlier than 98, because 98 from 2011 is only 13 years. Yeah, it wouldn't be like a huge technological leap or anything like that.
And you can have all the same guys come in, slightly de-age them a little bit.
Oh yeah,
it's like 11 years since.
Oh yeah, or go back to like 1990 and have like younger actors playing them.
Yeah,
something like you know, or the 80s, because everything horror just works in the 80s. There's a magic, like 1984 to 86 is just these three magic years that you can just place a horror thing in and it just works. Yeah, and just do that. But like, no, it's definitely worth it. But I'm just glad that they didn't Rush. I'm not sure. It probably wasn't much of a cash cow. I think it made under $70 million, which isn't
How
like
much?
for.
How much did it cost to make it?
But see, that's I suppose all things been relative. Here, I'll let you take over the chatter, and I'll check that real quick.
Like I think the prequels are there, but I think I'm happy that they didn't at the same time because it's so original, it's so singular that I think maybe it is the kind of movie now that we should just leave it alone because it's 11 years now. Any kind of prequel now, unless you have the perfect story, would just take
And
the
also
shine.
the perfect people.
Yeah,
This was lightning in a bottle. If you're going to do it, get the people back.
yeah,
Don't just decide. Don't do what Star Wars did. Don't decide that we'll just change a director right in the middle. It's stupid. You
yeah.
need the right people. And sorry to cut over you. 66.5 made against a budget of 30. So that's fine. That's 100+%. But like they make money they make films to make bank, and
Yeah.
they want 3 to 4 times
I think if it
return.
probably made 10, 20 million more, it probably would have had a prequel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I just think though, like what I would really like to see is its DVD sales because I'd say this is the kind of movie that
Oh, it cult following now.
yeah,
I
like
didn't go.
100%.
I didn't see this in the cinema.
No, I did right.
And this is one of my favorite movies of all time. So again, Shawshank is always the one people go to, an absolute failure.
Yeah.
And then people kind of watch it.
Thing.
Goes, have you ever actually seen that movie? Yeah, but like people didn't deserve the thing.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Like sometimes that you get appreciated after the fact a lot more than your initial release, and that happens to fucking dozens of films, and no more so in the genre than horror. That happens a lot with horrors that they can kind of sail underneath the radar a little bit, and then all of a sudden they have a following 5, 6 years, 7 years down the line. Like, you know what I mean? Like the perfect example is the Star Wars prequels, much maligned on the release, but now they've got a gigantic following. They're adored in some circles every bit as much as the originals, not even some even more so. Like, so it just shows you the way people's perceptions really do change over time. And I think Cabin in the Woods, you got something that has Joss Whedon written all over. It's completely meta, it's completely self-aware, and it's hilarious, it's gory, it plays with all the classic horror tropes. Like it does everything. Like it knows exactly how to use a final girl in the correct way. It knows exactly how to use its villains in the correct way. It knows exactly how to make sure there's no lulls. The pacing's perfect. As you said, the first kill's 43 minutes in. It's almost unheard of in this style of horror. And
In this style, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and to have that and not even notice it, and then to have the kill frenzy that follows it, everything about this movie is perfectly balanced, and it just shows you what you can do with horror when it's used with your brain, because there is so much there that you can play off the history of horror for the past 50, 60 odd years. There's such a depth of things you can actually make your own versions of, or do this, or put a skew on, and create this wholly original story like Cabin in the Woods, but at the same time pay homage to all the classics that like inspired you to make this movie in the first place. And I think that's what this movie does perfectly. Like you have, and it has the perfect creative team. I mean, Drew Goddard, extremely talented. He wrote and directed, as far as I know. Joss Whedon co-wrote it, I think, and he produced it. And like I know Joss Whedon now has his detractors, but one thing you can say, he's genius at handling an ensemble cast, and he's so clever at mixing horror and humor together, which he did for a long time with Buffy, Angel, and he did like sci-fi and humor and Western as well with Firefly, and then Serenity. So it shows you like, and he's not afraid to take risks either. You see Dollhouse, so like it just shows you that that when you have the right creatives, that horror doesn't have to be this one trick pony, that it can actually be highly intelligent. And this is what annoys me when I see these really singular tone horrors, these real monotone nonsense. And like what I really like to see is when people play with the tropes and have fun with the genre and subgenres that can be incorporated into the overall genre of horror. And that's what Cabin in the Woods does perfectly, that it plays with all its ingredients without ever making one thing seem like it's getting away with the other. It's a very hard thing to do.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that for me, before we get out here, I just say that it goes to show that concept is easy. We could sit here and kind of get a few drinks in, and we could make the sky the limit. We could talk about hell, we could talk about sci-fi, space, xenomorphs, we can talk about absolutely anything we want, but actually being able to lock that shit down and keep it entertaining and keep it intriguing is absolute fucking art. because its concepts are, I think, relatively easy compared to full execution, where everyone's on the same page, from the practical team, the special effects, the rendered effects, and the on-set effects, to an actual storyline, to a cast, to an ensemble, to a writer, to a director. This film got it all.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show what it takes to make a really good movie. But also, when you're not afraid to let your imagination run wild, how far you can push the ball out. And this is just an excellent film of just a lot of imagination. And it just felt like maybe there was joy in making it. But not, I don't know that. I wasn't there. I wasn't behind the scenes. But it just feels like a film that you walk away from. I'm like, okay, maybe I wish this film had $20 million more or something like that. But I don't care. I made a fucking good movie.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's one thing you can say, like, box office is one thing, but the quality of the product is oftentimes not really weighed up to the success it has in the cinemas. Like you touched on Shawshank Redemption, The Thing, many other movies that don't really find the success on release, and it doesn't make it less of a quality movie. It just sometimes just need to find their audience, and sometimes you find your audience immediately, and sometimes you find your audience organically over time. And that's what the Cabin in the Woods did. It pretty much over time, it found obviously a decent sized audience. It made 70 million, made double its money back, but it obviously didn't hit mainstream in the way that this film should have and might have done 4 or 5 years down the line. Because
peasants.
Well, Chris Hemsworth would have been a bigger star 4 years later. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, huge.
You know,
huge.
this was a couple of years after Thor 1 only. So,
and Chris Hemsworth probably wouldn't have been in this movie.
Well, of course he would have. Joss Whedon was involved, so I assume that's how he was in it in the first place.
You got me. He actually got me there. You know
what I mean? Like,
no, you got me there.
I just think a couple of years maybe down the line, this movie's meant 2014 instead of 2011. It was probably would have been a smash hit because Chris Hemsworth had been attached to it. But because it was made when it was, and Chris Hemsworth's still growing at that stage, he's like he's like a megastar now. And like 10 years ago, he was still building. So I just think that maybe if this movie was released a couple of years later, it probably would have made 120, 150 million at the box office, and we might have seen a prequel. So maybe, in a sense, the silver lining of this cloud is that it didn't do so well, but maybe because of that, the quality of the overall original film won't be subjected to loads and loads of prequels and sequels and shit that might actually take away from it if you don't have the right story. Like, you know what I mean? Nobody wants to see Cabin in the Woods 16, Revenge of the fucking Tommy Knockers or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Sawface's Revenge. Like, you know, nobody wants to see that. Or, you know what I mean? Like, the Attack of the Killer Merman.
Cabins in the Woods is
yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so maybe it's good sometimes when these good movies don't get massive box office, because then they just stay as a singular thing.
Yeah.
Even though there is so much potential here for outward expansion.
You root for films you love, though.
Yeah.
Even though I agree with every point you just made, you know, I actually I'm disappointed because I root for a film I love. I root for its success, and I can't help that. And even if you're right, even if it had been a huge success, like they would have done a Game of Thrones season 8, and almost like ruined the dynasty by making such absolute shit. I'm glad that didn't happen.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
still just
it's a very solid 7-season show. I'm surprised to cancel it, but
I'm surprised to cancel it at that stage.
It's weird. It's weird.
I went through that weird insanity phase where I kept insisting that there was a season 8.
No,
a little relapse. Yeah. But I'm better now.
It's cool. You'll get there.
I'm better now.
Like the 1,000-yard stare.
The 1,000-yard stare. Oh God. Anyway, come on. Let's wrap this shit up.
This fucking thing. But I just think that no matter what way you weigh up this movie in terms of its box office credentials, that it's undeniably a fucking world-class horror movie. It's ultra smart. It's really funny. The gore's next level. The premise is completely original, and at the same time it paid homage to all the classics of yesteryear. So for me in particular, Cabin in the Woods is all the ingredients, I think, for a classic modern horror movie, or modern classic horror movie, whatever way you want to phrase that. And I think that in maybe, I know it's adored now in certain circles, but I think another 5 years maybe it might reach that ultra cult classic thing, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw an expansion in a few years when another generation comes upon it, and it might get another resurgence. Or maybe the filmmakers that love it now will actually start getting jobs in making movies, and you might see someone making something that's similar, and then eventually they'll get a prequel or something. Another way that shit happens the whole time.
It does.
So before we get the fuck out of here, like, I just want to say, check out Cabin in the Woods, motherfuckers, because if you haven't, you're missing out on a fucking treat, because it is awesome. Amazeballs, one might say.
Amazeballs, one might very well say.
Yes.
And
so Do you want to say, motherfucker?
Yeah, I just want to tell people, please join the family. And now that we've moved into the YouTube realm, hit that subscribe button, not the bell thing. You don't need to hit the bell. Everyone can say hit the bell thing. You don't need to hit the bell.
That's
thing.
the notification thing.
Yeah, I know, but people don't. We don't do if you'd like to. That'd be cool, but we don't need to be all up in your grill.
Yeah, and as long as you know, as soon as you hit that like button, your soul is mine.
We will tear your algorithm apart.
Jesus.
But please, in the comments if there's any.
We're not allowed to say that, dude. No, we're not allowed to say that, dude. You're not allowed to say your algorithm is mine. I think Zuckerberg owns it or something.
I think Zuckerberg owns it. Yeah,
I think he just bought us. I think.
If there is a film we should do, though, please check or put it in the comments, and we'll have a check it.
Yeah, and if you want us to do a specific film that we've already done before, don't be lazy. Check us out on Spotify because we've got loads of episodes there. We've also got loads of audio episodes up on YouTube. But if that's not your thing, we'll be.
We'll even do really old movies. I don't care if it's 8 months old.
We're going to be trying out
9
more
months
video
old.
shit. But check us out on Spotify if you like the audio format. We're also up on YouTube in audio format. But from now on, we'll be all video on YouTube. So hopefully you'll see more of us. We'll see more of you. You'll hear more from us. We'll hear more from you, all that good stuff. And that was Cabin in the Woods. Noel, you want to get the fuck out here, motherfucker?
Yes, that's exactly what I want to do.
All right, I'm your host, Vince Green.
I'm your host, Don Tui.
And this is Invasion Pod Snatchers. That was Cabin in the Woods. See you next time, motherfuckers. Peace.
Peace.
But before we go, feast your ears upon this.
Thank you, Oz, for the outro.
Hit like and subscribe.
Want some candy?
Boom, 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 boom. Hit like and subscribe.
Hit like and subscribe.
Boom, 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 boom. Hit like and subscribe. Hit like and subscribe. I really want to watch Predators.
She bitch.
Yeah, it makes you want to watch Predators.
Let's go.
See you next time. Peace.